Welcome back, everyone. Well, today, former Baltimore Ravens player Ray Rice, he headed back to a law office in New York City to try and fight for his career. And today it marks day 2 of the appeal hearing, which has now wrapped up. The former NFL running back fighting the league's decision to suspend him, from the field indefinitely. Rice alleging that there was some flip-flopping on the league's part. And it all surrounds a case, as we all know, of that domestic violence involved in that Atlantic City hotel where his wife, now then fiancé, caught on film. Now, the NFL initially suspended Rice for 2 games after this video of him dragging his wife out of an elevator at Atlantic City was revealed. Rice says he and his wife told the NFL commissioner that he hit her, knocked her unconscious before taking her out of the elevator, and he says the 2-game suspension should have still remained in place. However, when the video of what happened inside the elevator came to light, the league shifted gears, and they brought down the hammer, suspending Rice indefinitely. Now, all the major players taking part in the arbitration hearing, including the NFL commissioner, Roger Goodell, and there's many questions associated with that, including if this is, in fact, double jeopardy, and even if Rice's suspension is lifted, no guarantee, in fact, that another team will pick him up. In fact, I'd argue the probability is against it, at least this year. All right, let's bring in our legal panel right now. Mark Furnish, professor of Brooklyn Law, is arguing before the High Court. Doug Von Oist, founding partner of Carson Von Oist, focusing on corporate misconduct, selected as one of the Legal 500 most influential trial lawyers in the country. Dan Shore, he's on the board of directors at Hope Store, providing resources to survivors of domestic violence. He's also former Yonkers Inspector General and criminal prosecutor in Westchester County and New York City. All right. Mark, on the basic question of, and this is apparently what we learned today, among the folks that were called to testify on the Rice side was the general manager of the Ravens, both now and also at the time, who went to that hearing where the evidence was, or at least the case was laid out. He testified reportedly that, yeah, Rice said he did hit his wife in front of the commissioner. Apparently there was 2 attorneys that were taking notes. They're going to try and get those notes, etc. I know this isn't a formal court of law here today, but it seems at least that the version that the commissioner said that he was told and the confusion doesn't seem to be borne out from the testimony, apparently, that's being reported that we've heard in the first and now today at the final day.
Yeah, Rich, there's a discrepancy in the case between the law and the facts. It seems clear from what's leaked out that the league didn't act in an appropriate, open, and above-board way and sort of gave him the shaft, to put it colloquially. So the facts are against the league, but if Judge Jones, who's an ex-federal judge who's acting as the arbitrator here, follows the letter of the law, really we're talking about the letter of the arbitration agreement. And when we talk about double jeopardy, that arbitration agreement on its face does not, and I repeat, does not preclude the league from punishing Rice twice. What it precludes is dual punishment by both the league and the Ravens. So what this is going to come down to is fairness on the one hand versus the letter of the arbitration agreement.
And what kind of discretion does the arbitrator have? Because Rice will say, hey, listen, nobody's going to pick me up at this point. We're already past the midway point of the season. Nobody's going to want to bring me in. I've been harmed here by, in effect, the double jeopardy or the double penalization for the same act. Does he have a case, or is that a whole separate case?
No, he's got a case. The question is whether he has a case under the letter of the arbitration agreement, which is an open question. And in answer to the beginning of your question, Judge Jones has very, very broad discretion in this matter. So if she acts in the interest of fairness, she won't be overturned in all likelihood by a court. And if she, on the other hand, adheres to the letter of the agreement, she also won't be overturned.
Okay, so Mark laid it out. Doug, I'll start with you, and I'll get your take on this too. What do you think is fairness here from the facts that we understand? And we should take it for this conversation as a given that, in effect, there was contradictory accounts of what was said. Apparently, that initial meeting when he originally got the 2-game suspension, Rice apparently was forthcoming that he hit her. The video put it in, technicolor, but the commissioner screwed up the first time by giving him 2 games. What is fairness now?
I don't think we know what fairness is going to be. The problem that Rice has is that the commissioner and the league, they're the judge and jury. So even if somebody came forward and said, this is unfair, you should be able to play, they can stop him from doing it. And if they can drag this out for such a long period of time, that he may never play again. So they has to look for some leverage in some way to cut a deal. I don't know if you're ever going to figure out what's fair. It's what he practically can do and what they can do to him.
I'm curious for your comment on this, Dan, because obviously you've spent a career working both professionally and even on your private time with domestic violence victims. But at the same time, as a rule of law, or at least in terms of equity, you know, it seems that if somebody screwed up and they gave an employee a certain punishment, can't really change the rules as they go along.
Right. It seems like Ray Rice deserves to be banned for what he did, but procedurally was the right thing done. If this was a court of law, a prosecutor can't enhance punishment if they learn more information. The NFL is saying they can enhance the punishment if they learn more information, and Ray Rice is saying, but you didn't learn anything new. You knew
saw
all
the
this
video,
before.
but I told you what was on the
Yeah,
video.
I told you I hit her. You saw the video. It didn't really do anything. You're just reacting to public relations. I think it's going to come down to whether or not they really did tell the commissioner everything. The problem is a video speaks much louder than anything Ray Rice could have said. If he said, unprovoked, I hit her, I admit it, that's different than seeing the video and seeing how cold he was after the punch, where he is stepping aside, the elevator's closing on his then fiance's head, and someone else has to step in to stop her from getting hit by the elevator door.
Yeah.
Did he really go into all those details? I doubt it.
Well, here's the thing, though. It's been reported widely that the videotape was delivered to the NFL Director of Security. So
There's not consensus on whether they got it or not. They've pushed
they're
back on
denying
it. So, all right, I want to get to the second thing. It's a sport related, but it's a much broader issue than just sports. We all know disgraced Yankees player A-Rod, Alex Rodriguez. He's facing kind of his Lance Armstrong moment, if you will. He's reportedly confessed.
His fifth Lance?
It's six, whatever, who can count, right? He reportedly confessed to using the PEDs from late 2010 to 2012. He said he got the drugs from a phony doctor, ran that South Florida steroid ring. His confession came just a year after he flat out denied the allegations. And in fact, he made him to a radio talk show host in New York, the Fan's Mike Francesa.
The man from Milwaukee that put this suspension on me with not one bit of evidence, something I didn't do. And he doesn't have the courage to come look at me in the eye and tell me this is why I did 211.
Okay, let's leave A-Rod out for a second because he's the most unsympathetic character I think you can find. The man, by the way,
He's
that
a
he said from
Shakespearean
Milwaukee.
character,
Oh
isn't
my
he?
God, yes. He was talking about Bud Selig, the now outgoing
He whose
commissioner.
name shall
All right,
not be
yes,
mentioned.
will not be mentioned. Okay, this is a broader question though. I'll save you for last because you can get to you can, like me, sit back and watch these two guys. When you have a client and you have an inkling, but you don't know, but you have to put on the best defense that you can for the client, do you want to know everything? Because that can make you obviously prepare the most complete case and you're not surprised by anything that you'll learn at trial? Or if he volunteers too much, now you're stuck in a bind. And if he lies to you, then you're going about creating defense where the facts won't support you.
Well, there are ethical obligations not to put on a defense that you know is perjurious.
Is it clear where that line is or no?
It's pretty clear.
Okay.
You can't do something that you know is false. It's a fraud on the court. It could get you disbarred, and it's unethical conduct. I'm in a bit of a different posture because my practice is so predominantly appellate focused. So I have a record whereby I know that a jury has found my client guilty, and as a functional matter, I don't represent too many innocent people, so I know what I'm dealing with, and this says more about me than them probably, but I like it that way, so I'm all good with it.
First, you're right, a defense attorney or any attorney can't call a witness that they know is going to lie, but A-Rod was really smart here because he didn't lie to the federal government.
But take him at it.
Yeah,
The broader
sure.
question that people want to know that are on the outside is, if you don't know, do you want to know?
Well, I've never served as a defense attorney.
Right.
I've served as a prosecutor and other law enforcement roles. So I know that defense attorneys have to call defendants that are going to say on the stand that they didn't do things that they probably think they did. But as long as the person didn't specifically tell you they're going to lie, the defense attorney ethically can call them. And if the defendant wants to testify, you ethically have to call them. So do they turn a blind eye? I've kind of suspected that, but you guys can tell better than I could.
Well, your guys usually are the victims, Doug, right?
well,
but do you always
honestly,
want to get more details and sometimes?
Listen, I don't know any lawyer that doesn't want to know every single fact he can know. There's a reason why you probably, if you know that the guy has to testify in a criminal case and you don't want to know, But hey, listen, I want to know every fact of my case.
Because you don't want to be caught with your pants
I
down,
wanna know.
right?
I
You
wanna
want to
know.
know the pitfalls of the case, but you know the prohibition is clear on its face. You can't put on something that you know is false. The question of whether you know it's false is much
So you
murkier.
give a little precursor, like, I'm going to ask you something. Now, don't answer me. You know, but, okay, I love the
Just
apply
assume,
laws.
as a defense lawyer, since I'm the tried and,
Yes.
and dyed-in-the-wool defense lawyer here, just assume the worst, and you won't be disappointed.
All right, when we come back, a really tragic case, and it comes out in New York, where a mother facing prison time after she told authorities she killed her autistic son, and why she said she did it for his own protection. We're going to have the panel weigh in on this and whether they believe this is a case of murder or manslaughter. And we'll tell you what the court said as well. Stay with us.